Hey, Bill Caskey here. Welcome to Caskey Live every day at 8:30. I come at you with my headphones on. Not a big fan of these things, but I need to hear myself and what you're saying. So make sure you let me know where you're watching from. If you are watching, we are talking today, since it's Holy Week, we're talking about the Bible and stories from the Bible that I think could be impactful for all of us as we do business and as we carry on our affairs. I said for the first day of this, we started on Monday, since this is Holy Week between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, that I am not a biblical scholar. Don't pretend to be. Don't want to be. I am, though, excuse me, fascinated by the stories from the Bible. And so I want to talk today about the story of Queen of Sheba, and King Solomon, because I think there's a lot of lessons here in it that we can all learn from to help us create more outcomes, better results, more wealth. But first, I want to tell you about something that we're doing. Let's see, where is it here? We have a challenge coming up the second week in April. If you have not signed up for it yet, make sure you go to milliondollarsellerchallenge.com. There's all the information there. It is for sales professionals, business owners, creators, and entrepreneurs, anybody who is interested in building their income by doing the business they already do. This is not how to get rich quick. This is not how to start a new side hustle. This is doing the business you're doing now. Can we learn how to prosper more and how to build our income? So it's a 5-day challenge. It goes 1 hour per day. I think you're going to love it. This is the first time we've done it. We're going to do it throughout the rest of the year, every month, probably standing first or second week in the month. So anyway, go to milliondollarsellerchallenge.com. So the idea with this one today is I want to talk about Sheba. And she had a journey that she wanted to make, and she wanted to understand what was happening in King Solomon's in the kingdom of Israel. And again, I'm not pretending to be the scholar here, but I've read enough about this, and I think there's some fascinating lessons here for us. And there are lessons that you don't see in the text, in the scripture itself. But let's go through this really quickly. I was going to put some PowerPoints up, but I didn't have time to do it. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relation to the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. So think about this. She's heard about Solomon. How has she heard about him? Well, Solomon was a prolific writer. He wrote Psalms and Proverbs, and he wrote thousands of them. Many of them are in the Bible, King James Version, some are not. But he was a prolific writer, and he was, it wasn't like he posted something on Instagram and thousands of people saw it. He was writing and getting this content. He was a content creator. He was a content producer, and she heard about him and she read about him. She said, look, if the things I'm reading now are that interesting, I'd like to go meet him. So she set up a meeting. He answered all of her questions. Nothing was too hard for him to explain to her. When the queen saw all of the wisdom of Solomon and the palace he had built, the food, the seating, the servants, the robes, the burnt offerings, everything, she said, listen to this now. This is interesting. She said, the report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. So she'd heard about him, and people are skeptical. Your customers are skeptical of you. My prospects are skeptical of me. We heard about you. We see you on video. We read about, but when you show up, there's always skepticism. So we've got to understand that our customers are skeptical, just like Sheba was. But she said, I did not believe these things until I came and saw them with my own eyes. Even half was not told me. In wisdom and in wealth, you have exceeded the report I heard. So even though I heard a lot, heard good stuff, when I came here and heard you and talked to you individually, now what does that tell you? It tells me that I can read about you and I can watch you on video, but until we have a conversation and we sit down in the room, not a lot of that gets transferred appropriately. So this is the purpose of face-to-face meetings. That's why it still is relevant to have discussions. It could be Zoom, virtual, but face-to-face meetings. You can't just write your way to the sale. At some point, there's got to be a discussion, and that's what Sheba found. So she gave him 120 talents. Now, you've heard of the story of the talents. We might even tell that. Did we tell it? I don't know if we told it or not. 120 talents, large quantities of spices, precious stones. How much is 120 talents, do you think? Talent's 80 pounds. That's the figure that they use, 80 pounds. So if it's 120 talents of gold, it's 80 pounds of gold. How many ounces in a pound? 16. 16 times 80 is, I don't know, 1,000, a couple thousand. When you start to get it all out, it's hundreds of millions of dollars by today's standards, not by those standards. But she brought a lot of money with her because the wisdom was that valuable. So he gave her all she desired and asked for besides what he had given out of a royal bounty. She left, returned with her group to her own country. The weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents. Now this doesn't say that it was Sheba who sent that 666 talents every year, but I suspect that he gave this kind of wisdom to a lot of people, a lot of other kings, leaders in that time. And she probably went back and said to other leaders that she knew, hey, you got to go see this guy. Bring a lot of gold with you, though. Bring a lot of camels with spices and amalgam wood and lumber and precious stones, because he will give you his advice. So with that all said, you've heard the story before, maybe. I had not heard it. I heard actually one of my coaches told the story in one of his programs, Myron Golden. And he told the story, and he is a biblical scholar, and he told it well. But I thought it was, I changed it a little bit, didn't change the story, but changed the lessons here for salespeople. So here are the lessons that I think we can learn. Number one, the value of wisdom exceeds material wealth, meaning she was willing to give it all up. She was willing to pay for the wisdom that he had. Are you willing to pay for wisdom of how to do your job better? How to do your life better, how to manage your finances better, how to create more wealth? Are you willing to give your material wealth for wisdom? Some of you are, some of you aren't. I would say on an 80-20 scale, probably 20% of us are willing to invest in ourselves, 80% aren't. And that's why the 20 who are continue to grow. And I know that doesn't please the 80% that don't. I'm just telling you it's a fact that those who invest in themselves do better. Number two, seek knowledge from proven sources. Obviously, he knew what he was doing. He wrote about it. He had a kingdom, a wealthy kingdom. So she said, look, I want to know what you're doing. Tony Robbins talks about that. If you want to get good at something, go find somebody who's already good at the thing you want to get good at and pay them money, time, precious stones. It's probably not going to work so well today. Bring a bag of stones, bag of shells, seashells. But the point is there that you got to seek knowledge from proven sources. If you are a proven source, then people will find you. But are you findable, or are you obscure? Do people even know you exist in your market? Do you give them a chance to sample some of your work, some of your thinking, some of your ideas? Are you writing articles? I saw a statistic the other day in LinkedIn that, I know we're pivoting back and forth from the Bible to LinkedIn. This is not a biblical story, by the way, that 45% of people who read articles on LinkedIn are CEOs, C-level, C-suite people. Everybody I talk to says, oh, I need to get to a higher level. I need to get to the C-suite, need to get to executives. Okay, are you writing articles? No. Why aren't you writing articles? Oh, I'm not good at writing. Find somebody who is. You ever heard of ChatGPT? That's a start. I mean, it may not be replace a human, but it's a start. AI is a start. So when we think about King Solomon, we think about his writing, and we think about his wisdom, and people sampled that from afar, and then they paid him a lot of money to be in the same room with him. An inquisitive mind leads to growth. Be curious about the creation of a successful business. I say the gap in the income is always a gap in the knowledge. If you are at a certain income level now, let's just say you're 100 grand a year, and you want to get to 300, 400, 500, not because you're a money hungry, creepy work person, it's because you want to create some wealth for yourself, for your family. You want to put it back in your business. You want to spread your messages further out. It's a knowledge gap. It's not an ambition gap. It's not an intelligence gap. It's not a my parents raised me wrong gap. It's a knowledge gap. You don't know how to get from 100 to 500. It's all it is knowledge. Now you've got to do something with that knowledge. It's not just knowledge, but it starts with knowledge. So she wanted that. And number four, share your wisdom generously. Solomon freely imparted his wisdom with his articles and his psalms and songs, and the queen saw those and wanted a part of it. So bottom line lessons: create content, help other people find you. like Solomon did with his songs and proverbs. Uh, Go to find people who have done what you've done and pay them handsomely. You don't have to pay them 100 talents or $300 million, but you do have to cut a check. You got to slice a check. And this is not a ploy for me to do that. You just have to invest in yourself like she did. And the third thing is make sure that you are findable and not obscure. Once again, if you are in sales, professional sales, you want to grow your income, a creator, entrepreneur, VP of sales, make sure you check out our challenge. It's coming up. It's ready now. I think the website is ready. We had a little bit of a delay, but go to milliondollarsellerchallenge.com. There is a tuition. It's less than $100, small tuition, 1 hour a day for 5 days. I hope this has been helpful for you. And I hope that, the idea of us using biblical stories. There's a book I actually interviewed Dan Lappin, Rabbi Daniel Lappin, here a few years ago. He wrote a book called Thou Shalt Prosper. He's also written many books about business secrets from the Bible. It's really good. And I think there's a lot of value there. So anyway, I'd love to hear in a comment. Do you like this or not? We're going to do tomorrow and Friday. And Friday is Leadership Friday. So if you have a leader in your organization that you think might want to hear some of this content, make sure you invite them. I'll see you. Bye.